In this video, I am going to discuss about investment casting process. Investment casting process, it is also known as lost wax process. Main characteristic of investment casting process is a wax pattern is used for making investment casting mold. Initially, a wax pattern is coated with a refractory ceramic material. Once the refractory ceramic materials get hardened, the wax is melted and it is removed from the mold, leaving a cavity. Into that cavity, molten material is poured. Once the molten material is solidified, the entire mold is breaking and the product is taken outside. Investment casting process is basically an expendable casting process. So in all expendable casting process, the entire mold is breaking and the product is taken outside. As investment casting process uses a wax pattern, it is also known as lost wax process. So in all investment casting process, a wax pattern is used. So it is also known as lost wax process. So there are different steps in investment casting process. First one, producing a die for making wax pattern. Second step, making of expendable pattern and gating system. Third step, pre-coating pattern assembly. Fourth step, refractory slurry invested over the wax pattern drying in air. Fifth step, wax melted out of the mold for investment casting. Sixth step, mold for investment casting heated before pouring molten material. Seventh step, solidification of metal inside the investment casting mold. Eighth step, breaking up the mold for investment casting. And we have final product. So these are the steps in a investment casting process. So we can discuss one by one. So first step, producing die for making wax pattern. See, for making a wax pattern, a separate mold is used which is cast or machined. Size of the master die must be carefully calculated. It must take into consideration shrinkage of wax, shrinkage of ceramic material invested over the wax pattern and shrinkage of the metal casting. So for making wax pattern, a separate metal mold is used which may be cast or machined. So this is the wax pattern. Okay. The second step is making expendable pattern and gating system. This individual wax pattern, so you can see that this is a wax pattern and this individual wax pattern that is attached to a wax bar. This is known as wax bar. So these are all individual wax pattern and this individual wax pattern that is attached to a wax bar. This wax bar acts as a central sprue in casting process, investment casting process. At the top of the wax bar, a ceramic pouring cup is placed. So this is a ceramic pouring cup and the entire structure is known as tree structure in investment casting process. So individuals, in second step, individual patterns, wax patterns attached to a wax bar. This wax bar acts as a central sprue. At the top of the wax bar, a ceramic pouring cup is placed. Okay. Then third one, pre-coating pattern assembly. See, this entire pattern assembly is dipped into a refractory slurry. Refractory slurry consists fine-grained silica, water and some binders. So depending upon thickness of the coating over the wax tree, it will be dipped 2 or 3 times. After the required thickness of coating is achieved, the dipping will be finished. So this is the refractory slurry and this is the wax tree. In third step, the wax tree will be dipped several times into the refractory slurry and the refractory slurry consists fine grained silica, water and binder. See, after the required thickness is obtained over the wax tree, In fourth step, refractory slurry invested over the wax pattern drying in air. So in air, the assembly along with the refractory coating drying in air. In fourth step. Okay. In fifth step, wax will be removing. Wax melted out of the mold for investment cavity and producing a mold cavity. So this tree structure will be heated to a temperature of 90 degrees Celsius to 175 degrees Celsius, and the wax is melted and it will be leaving from the mold and creating a mold cavity. So this is the melted wax that will be collected in the wax collector, and this tree structure is heating to a temperature of 90 degrees Celsius to 175 degrees Celsius. Then sixth step is mold for investment casting heated before pouring. The ceramic mold is heated around a temperature of 550 to 1100 degrees Celsius. This will further strengthen the mold, eliminate any leftover wax or contaminants, and drive out wax from the mold material. See, before the molten material is pouring, the ceramic mold is heated to 550 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius, which is used to eliminate any leftover wax or contaminants inside the ceramic mold. So after heating, the molten material is pouring into the mold. Molten material completely fill the cavity in the investment casting mold. Then solidification will take place. During solidification, the molten material that is transferred into solid state. So after solidification, the entire mold is breaking and the product is taken outside. Investment casting is an expendable casting process in which the entire mold is breaking for taking the product outside. Then this is the final product in the investment casting process. So these are the general steps in the investment casting process. So first step is pre-coating pattern. First step is producing dye for making wax pattern. Second step, making of expendable pattern and gating system. Third step, pre-coating pattern assembly. Fourth step, refractory slurry invested over wax pattern drying in air. Fifth step, wax melted out of the mold for investment casting. Sixth step, mold for investment casting heated before pouring. Seventh step, solidification of an investment casting. Eighth step, break up the mold for investment casting. And ninth step, investment casting final product. Okay. Then what are the application of the investment casting process? Used for manufacturing dental fixtures, gear, cam, ratchets, jewelry, turbine blade, machine component and other complex geometries. So investment casting are commonly used for manufacturing dental fixtures, gear, cams, ratchet, jewelry, turbine blade, machinery components and other complex geometries. So what is the advantage of investment casting process? Investment casting does not consist any parting line or parting surface. That's one of the advantage of a investment casting process. Investment casting process does not consist a parting line or a parting surface. So any complex geometry can be cast easily through investment casting process. Extremely complex parts can produce with good surface finish. Very thin section can be produced by this process. High dimensional accuracy achieved, tolerance as low as 0.076 mm. The parts of investment casting can be automated. So these are the advantages of investment casting process. Any complicated geometry that can be produced without a parting line, that's the main characteristic of an investment casting process. Disadvantage of investment casting is a complicated process and relatively expensive. So these are the advantage and disadvantage and application of investment casting process. So in this video, we have discussed about investment casting process or lost wax process, various steps in investment casting process, and advantage, disadvantage and application of investment casting process. Thank you.